Nobel Prize winning doctor, just eat these every day and you will live to 100, not what you think. Are you diligently following what you believe to be a healthy eating plan, only to find yourself perpetually fatigued, battling inflammation, experiencing unwanted weight gain, or observing a gradual decline in your overall well-being? What if the very foods commonly associated with promoting longevity aren't the true secret behind the remarkable health and vitality of populations that live well past a century, maintaining sharp minds, abundant energy, and robust resistance to disease? The reality of what happens within your body is far more nuanced than simple dietary prescriptions suggest. True longevity isn't achieved by consuming a singular superfood, meticulously curating a complex stack of supplements, or adhering to a fad diet. Instead, it hinges on the intricate interplay between your daily food choices, your metabolic processes, your immune system's responsiveness, and your body's innate capacity for repair. This profound understanding doesn't originate from social media influencers or popular diet books. It stems from groundbreaking, Nobel Prize winning scientific discoveries. Over the past several decades, esteemed Nobel laureates conducting research into aging, cellular stress, and the body's defense mechanisms against disease have unearthed a surprising truth. The world's longest living individuals don't necessarily eat more food. Rather, they consume it strategically. Their dietary patterns are characterized by their ability to subtly activate intrinsic survival pathways. These pathways are crucial for lowering inflammation, stabilizing blood sugar levels by managing insulin effectively, safeguarding the integrity of our DNA, and preserving the youthful elasticity of our blood vessels. This insight is critically important because aging is not merely a passive consequence of time passing. It is, in essence, the accumulation of metabolic damage. Persistent spikes in insulin, chronic inflammation, relentless oxidative stress, and a sluggish immune system quietly accelerate the aging process, often long before visible signs like wrinkles or a formal diagnosis appear. When these fundamental root causes are addressed, the human body exhibits a truly remarkable capacity for self-repair. To better grasp this concept, consider an analogy. Picture your body as a sophisticated, high-performance hybrid engine. This engine is capable of utilizing various fuel sources, but it operates at peak efficiency when it can seamlessly switch between them. In contrast, many modern dietary habits effectively force this engine to operate in a single, inefficient mode continuously. Longevity-focused eating, however, facilitates the crucial switching back and forth between different metabolic states, ensuring the system remains clean, adaptable, and resilient. Scientific research demonstrates that certain everyday foods, which are neither exotic nor prohibitively expensive, send powerful signals to your cells. These signals are instrumental in activating genes associated with longevity, fortifying your immune defenses, enhancing your cells' sensitivity to insulin, and mitigating the cumulative biological wear and tear that underlies common chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and cognitive decline. The truly surprising aspect of this revelation is that these impactful foods are often not what people anticipate. The focus isn't on consuming an abundance of protein shakes, energy bars, or engaging in constant snacking. In fact, some of the most potent longevity-promoting foods exert their beneficial effects precisely because they induce a brief, healthy stress response within the body, a type of stress that ultimately strengthens rather than weakens the system. Within this comprehensive explanation, we will delve into 6 scientifically validated insights derived from Nobel Prize-winning research and contemporary metabolic studies. You will gain a clear understanding of what to incorporate into your daily diet, why the timing of your meals is as crucial as the food choices themselves, and how to effectively activate your body's inherent longevity programs without resorting to medications or extreme dietary restrictions. If you find this science-first, root-cause approach to health education beneficial thus far, please consider subscribing to receive regular updates. Content like this is shared daily to empower you in taking natural control of your long-term health. Here's a closer look at what's genuinely occurring within your body and where the common understanding of longevity often gets things fundamentally wrong. For decades, the prevailing wisdom suggested that extending one's lifespan was primarily about consistently consuming perfect foods, maintaining stable blood sugar levels at all times, and rigorously avoiding anything resembling stress. However, Nobel Prize-winning research has unveiled a radically different perspective. Your cells don't rejuvenate in an environment of ease. They become younger and more efficient when they are sufficiently challenged. To illustrate this, imagine your body as a bustling city. Each day, a certain amount of waste inevitably accumulates. Damaged proteins, malfunctioning mitochondria, and compromised cellular components. If the city's waste management system were to cease functioning, the city wouldn't collapse overnight. Yet, over time, essential services would slow down, inflammation would escalate, and systemic failures would become increasingly likely. Aging operates on a similar principle. This vital cellular cleanup system is known as autophagy, and in 2016, Dr. Yoshinori Osumi was awarded the Nobel Prize for his pioneering work in elucidating how this process functions. The scientific consensus is that autophagy represents one of the most potent anti-aging mechanisms available to us. It is responsible for recycling damaged cellular components, optimizing metabolic efficiency, and providing protection against a range of serious conditions, including cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, and immune system decline. The critical point that many individuals overlook is that autophagy is not activated during periods of constant eating. Every time you consume food, even healthy options, your insulin levels rise. Insulin signals to your body that it is in growth mode. While growth is an essential biological function, perpetual growth without adequate cleanup mechanisms ultimately accelerates the aging process. It's akin to continuously adding new rooms to a house without ever addressing the integrity of its foundation. Autophagy is optimally triggered when insulin levels decrease and the body enters a period of energy intake pause, typically during overnight fasting windows or when meals are strategically spaced throughout the day. It's crucial to understand that this doesn't necessitate severe starvation. Instead, it involves creating intentional gaps in food consumption. Populations known for their exceptional longevity, such as those in Okinawa and Sardinia, did not habitually snack throughout the day. They consumed simple meals, often stopping before feeling completely full, and allowed their bodies extended periods of rest overnight. Without explicitly understanding the term autophagy, they were consistently activating this vital cellular cleanup process through their eating habits. Here's a practical, actionable protocol you can implement right away. Begin by establishing a 12 to 14-hour overnight fasting window. For instance, if you have dinner at 7 p.m., aim for breakfast no earlier than 9 a.m. the following day. This simple practice alone initiates the process of cellular cleanup. It is equally important to avoid late-night eating. Consuming meals close to bedtime keeps insulin levels elevated during a time when your body should be focused on tissue repair and the regulation of crucial hormones like melatonin and growth hormone. Furthermore, ensure that your morning meals are protein-forward rather than sugar-centric. This approach helps stabilize insulin levels and prevents the premature shutdown of autophagy for the day. Now let's connect these principles directly to longevity. Autophagy does more than just cleanse your cells. It enhances mitochondrial efficiency, meaning your cells can generate more energy with reduced damage. This translates into tangible benefits such as improved focus, increased muscle strength, healthier skin, and a slower rate of biological aging. This is precisely why many individuals experience enhanced mental clarity and sustained energy levels once they stop the practice of grazing throughout the day. It's not a mystical effect. It's a direct result of optimizing your metabolism. If you find this information valuable, please consider subscribing, as daily content is provided to help you translate complex longevity science into practical, usable tools. An additional important nuance to consider is that exercise acts as a powerful amplifier of autophagy. This is particularly true for resistance training and moderate intensity cardio, Zone 2. Physical movement creates microscopic stressors that signal the body to adapt and become stronger. This principle of adaptation is a cornerstone of maintaining youthful vitality. The key takeaway from this segment is straightforward yet profoundly impactful. You don't extend your lifespan by eating more frequently. You enhance it by providing your cells with dedicated time for cleanup, repair, and rejuvenation. In the subsequent section, we will explore a second Nobel Prize-linked insight that often surprises many: the notion that controlling insulin levels may hold greater significance for longevity than managing calorie intake, fat consumption, or even genetic predispositions. Consider insulin as your body's primary storage hormone. Its fundamental role is to facilitate the movement of nutrients from your bloodstream into your various tissues, including muscle, liver, and fat cells. This function is absolutely essential for survival. However, scientific research has consistently demonstrated that chronically elevated insulin levels represent one of the most rapid accelerators of the aging process. Here's a deeper understanding of what occurs within your body. When insulin remains elevated throughout the day, a common outcome of frequent meals, consumption of refined carbohydrates, or continuous snacking, your cells are essentially locked in a state of perpetual growth and storage. While growth mode might sound beneficial, from a biological standpoint, it actively suppresses cellular repair mechanisms, amplifies inflammation, and drives an increase in oxidative stress. Over time, this continuous state contributes to the development of insulin resistance, the accumulation of visceral, abdominal fat, hormonal imbalances, and a hastened rate of cellular aging. This is why two individuals consuming the exact same number of calories can experience significantly different rates of aging. Longevity is not solely determined by the quantity of food consumed, but critically by how frequently insulin is triggered. Nobel Prize-winning research focusing on aging pathways, such as mTOR and insulin signaling, consistently reveals a similar pattern. Lower, well-timed insulin exposure is correlated with extended lifespan across a wide spectrum of organisms, from yeast and worms to mice and humans. To simplify this complex interaction, mTOR represents your body's build and grow pathway, while AMPK is your repair and recycle pathway. Insulin profoundly activates the mTOR pathway. Consequently, when mTOR is constantly stimulated, the AMPK pathway is denied the opportunity to perform its essential repair functions, leading to accelerated aging. The widespread misunderstanding here lies in the fact that most individuals attempt to address this by obsessing over calorie counts or drastically eliminating fat from their diets. However, the true leverage point for optimizing longevity lies in the timing of carbohydrate consumption and the quality of the foods chosen, rather than outright deprivation. Here is a practical protocol you can implement immediately to positively impact your metabolic health and longevity. Prioritize consuming carbohydrates after protein and fiber, not in isolation. This strategic sequencing slows down the absorption of glucose and blunts the subsequent insulin spike. Aim to compress your eating into 2 to 3 substantial meals rather than 6 to 7 mini meals. Each eating event constitutes an insulin event. Select carbohydrates that are naturally accompanied by polyphenols and fiber, such as berries, legumes, lentils, and intact whole grains. These foods not only mitigate the insulin response, but also serve as vital nourishment for your gut microbiome. A simple yet remarkably effective habit is to take a 10 to 15-minute walk after meals. This modest physical activity can reduce post-meal blood glucose levels by up to 30%, requiring no special gym equipment. This is where the science of longevity truly becomes fascinating. Lowering insulin levels does not solely protect your metabolic system. It also safeguards your blood vessels, brain, and immune function. Insulin resistance is a significant contributor to endothelial damage, increases the risk of blood clotting, and accelerates cognitive decline. This is why type 2 diabetes is often associated with an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease, sometimes referred to as type 3 diabetes. However, the empowering aspect of this knowledge is that insulin sensitivity is a reversible condition. Within weeks of improving meal timing, reducing the intake of ultra-processed foods, and incorporating post-meal movement, insulin signaling improves, energy levels stabilize, cravings diminish, and fat loss becomes more attainable without requiring immense willpower. If these principles resonate with you, ensure you are subscribed, as the next section will delve into one of the most counterintuitive longevity discoveries: how certain plant compounds can mimic the benefits of exercise at a cellular level, even if you lead a sedentary lifestyle. This is where food transcends its role as mere fuel and becomes a potent source of biological information. This segment delves into how food can function as medicine, representing one of the most overlooked mechanisms for promoting longevity in contemporary nutrition. To simplify this concept, envision your cells as the individual rooms within a house. Over time, waste products and damaged components inevitably accumulate: worn-out proteins, inefficient mitochondria, and broken cellular machinery. If this cellular debris is not regularly removed, the house, or in this case, the cell, begins to deteriorate at an accelerated pace. In biological terms, this critical cleanup process is known as autophagy, and it is a highly reliable predictor of healthy aging. The surprising revelation here is that you do not need to resort to extreme fasting protocols or engage in grueling exercise routines to activate autophagy. Scientific research indicates that specific plant-derived compounds, known as polyphenols, possess the remarkable ability to trigger the same cellular repair pathways. This discovery is directly rooted in Nobel Prize-winning research concerning autophagy and cellular recycling. Polyphenols exert a mild beneficial stress on your cells, a phenomenon known as hormesis. This controlled low-level stress actually strengthens the system, much like exercise does for muscles. When you subject your muscles to just enough stress, they adapt and become more robust. Foods rich in polyphenols play a crucial role in activating the AMPK pathway, inhibiting an overactive mTOR pathway, reducing inflammation, and enhancing mitochondrial efficiency. In simpler terms, these compounds signal your cells to initiate a process of cleanup, repair, and to function in a more youthful manner. Some of the most potent sources of these beneficial compounds include extra virgin olive oil, green tea, dark berries, cocoa, coffee, cruciferous vegetables, legumes, and lentils. It is important to note a key characteristic of these foods: none of them are extreme, exotic, or necessitate dietary restriction. The pursuit of longevity is not about deprivation. It's about effectively communicating with your biology through targeted nutritional signaling. Now, let's address a common misconception. When people hear plant compounds, they often think of fruit juices, smoothies, or processed health foods. However, the process of extracting and refining these components, particularly by removing the fiber, can negate their benefits. Fiber plays a critical role in slowing down nutrient absorption, nourishing beneficial gut bacteria, and ensuring that polyphenols reach the colon, where they are converted into even more potent metabolites. What's truly fascinating is that your gut microbiome doesn't simply digest food. It actively produces longevity-promoting compounds from these polyphenols. These beneficial metabolites circulate throughout your body, reducing systemic inflammation, improving insulin sensitivity, and protecting your DNA from oxidative damage. Therefore, if your gut health is compromised, even a theoretically perfect diet may not yield its full potential benefits. Here's a simple yet realistic protocol to follow. Aim to consume at least 30 different plant-based foods per week, not necessarily per day. The variety of plant foods is more impactful than the sheer volume. Ensure that each meal includes at least one food that is rich in polyphenols, such as a drizzle of olive oil, a handful of berries, or incorporating fresh herbs and spices. These small additions can collectively make a significant difference. It's also advisable to steer clear of ultra-processed foods that are marketed as plant-based. If a product comes in packaging with an extensive ingredient list, it is unlikely to be contributing positively to your gut microbiome. Furthermore, cultivating mindful eating habits, such as eating slowly and chewing thoroughly, is essential. Digestion begins in the mouth, and inadequate digestion can lead to suboptimal nutrient signaling throughout the body. The overarching takeaway here is that longevity-promoting foods do not directly add years to your life in isolation. Instead, they work by removing the internal friction points that accelerate aging, namely inflammation, insulin resistance, oxidative stress, and impaired cellular repair mechanisms. This is precisely why individuals in populations renowned for their longevity do not obsess over macronutrient ratios. They eat simply, consistently, and in ways that actively support daily cellular cleanup processes. If this explanation is proving helpful, please stay engaged, as we are about to discuss a daily habit that surpasses the effectiveness of supplements, biohacks, and even genetics when it comes to living beyond the age of 100, and a habit that remarkably few people are executing correctly. Here's a critical aspect of what is truly happening within your body, focusing on the frequency of your eating rather than solely on the types of food you consume. The prevailing assumption is that longevity is primarily achieved through the consumption of superfoods. However, a wealth of scientific research consistently points towards a more fundamental and profoundly powerful principle: metabolic rhythm. To better understand this, consider your metabolism as a dynamic city. During daylight hours, there is constant activity, traffic flows, goods are transported, and energy is expended. As night falls, the city requires a period of quiet for essential repairs, for the sanitation crews to operate, and for general maintenance. If the city's traffic never ceases, its infrastructure will inevitably degrade at an accelerated rate. Your body functions in a remarkably similar fashion. When you eat continuously through snacking, late-night meals, or habitual grazing, your insulin levels remain elevated. During periods of high insulin, your body is unable to efficiently access stored fat for energy, is hampered in its repair processes, and is prevented from entering a deep cellular maintenance mode. Scientific findings consistently highlight the critical importance of daily periods of low insulin for longevity. This does not imply starvation or extreme measures, but rather the establishment of structured breaks in eating. This is why time-restricted eating consistently demonstrates significant benefits in areas such as blood sugar control, inflammation reduction, mitochondrial health improvement, and even in influencing gene expression patterns associated with aging. What is truly remarkable is that even research at the Nobel Prize level concerning aging has shown that cells require periods without nutrient intake to activate their crucial repair genes. This vital process simply cannot occur during continuous feeding, irrespective of whether the consumed food is considered healthy. This is a point where many individuals make a common error. They attempt to practice fasting while simultaneously engaging in late-night eating, experiencing poor sleep, and subjecting their nervous systems to chronic stress. Such practices effectively negate many of the potential benefits of fasting. Longevity is not about the sensational act of skipping breakfast for the sake of a perceived accomplishment. It is about harmonizing your eating patterns with your body's natural circadian biology. Here is a simple, sustainable, and physiologically aligned protocol. Aim to conclude your final meal at least 3 hours before retiring for the night. This single practice alone has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity and enhance sleep quality. Establish an overnight eating break of 12 to 14 hours. This is not an aggressive regimen, but a consistent habit. Prioritize consuming your largest meals earlier in the day, as your insulin sensitivity is typically highest in the morning and early afternoon. In the evenings, opt for lighter meals, with a focus on protein. The consumption of heavy carbohydrates late at night can disrupt the release of crucial hormones like melatonin and growth hormone. Now, let's examine why this metabolic timing is so crucial for extending lifespan. When insulin levels decrease, your body naturally shifts into a fat-burning mode. More importantly, growth hormone levels rise, inflammatory markers decline, and autophagy, cellular cleanup, increases. This creates an internal environment conducive to slowing down the aging process. And here's the aspect that frequently surprises people. you do not need to reduce your overall calorie intake to live longer. Instead, you need to be more intelligent about the timing of your meals. In fact, populations exhibiting the highest longevity rates do not subsist on minuscule portions. They consume normal-sized meals, but they consistently stop eating earlier, often prioritize social eating experiences, and allow for daily periods of metabolic rest. If this explanation is proving beneficial, please consider subscribing, as complex health science is consistently broken down into practical tools for daily use. In the upcoming section, we will address a topic that is often misunderstood: protein. The very nutrient that is essential for building muscle can paradoxically accelerate aging if its timing and source are mismanaged. This is an area where many individuals unknowingly undermine their own longevity goals. Let's conceptualize the relationship between protein and longevity using a simple whiteboard-style analogy. Think of protein as essential construction material. It's indispensable for building muscle, synthesizing enzymes, producing hormones, and forming immune cells. However, if the construction crews are operating around the clock, 24/7, the city never gets a chance to enter its vital repair and maintenance phases. The ambient noise levels remain high, and the essential cleanup operations are perpetually deferred. This is precisely how protein operates within your body. Protein is a potent activator of a growth pathway known as mTOR. While mTOR is undeniably essential, without it, you would experience a decline in muscle mass, bone density, and overall resilience. Its constant stimulation accelerates the aging process. Here's a deeper look at what's happening inside your body. As we age, particularly after the age of 40 or 50, individuals tend to fall into one of two problematic patterns. Either they consume insufficient protein, leading to muscle loss, or they consume protein throughout the entire day, thereby never allowing their cellular repair pathways to fully engage. Both scenarios present significant challenges. Scientific research unequivocally shows that the timing of protein intake is just as critical for longevity as the total amount consumed. Longevity-focused research, including studies linked to Nobel Prize-winning discoveries on cellular repair, consistently demonstrates that alternating periods of growth with periods of repair is fundamental to extending lifespan. Therefore, protein should be consumed in pulses, not as a continuous influx. The practical takeaway from this is straightforward. Instead of distributing protein intake evenly across 5 to 6 eating occasions throughout the day, aim to consume 2 substantial meals that contain adequate protein, ideally earlier in the day. This strategic approach accomplishes 3 powerful objectives. It efficiently stimulates muscle protein synthesis, it prevents the constant activation of mTOR, and it allows for autophagy, the critical cellular cleanup process, to occur between meals. To illustrate, consider someone who consumes a protein bar mid-morning, chicken at lunch, nuts in the afternoon, yogurt in the evening, and then engages in late-night snacking. This individual never provides their cells with a genuine opportunity to rest and repair. Their insulin levels remain elevated, mTOR stays perpetually active, and cellular repair remains suppressed. Now, compare this to someone who consumes a protein-rich late breakfast, a balanced early dinner, and then stops eating altogether. Despite potentially consuming the same total calories, the biological impact on their body is entirely different. Furthermore, the quality of the protein consumed is also a significant factor. Not all protein sources send the same longevity signals. Proteins derived from plant-forward sources, fish, fermented foods, and collagen-rich ingredients tend to activate growth pathways more gently compared to ultra-processed protein powders or excessive consumption of red meat. This does not imply that you must eliminate animal protein from your diet entirely, but rather that it should be utilized strategically. Here is a simple protein protocol aligned with longevity principles. Prioritize protein intake earlier in the day. Aim for 25-40 grams of protein per main meal, adjusting based on individual body size. Avoid late-night protein snacking, which can disrupt metabolic processes. Incorporate plant-based protein days throughout the week to strike a balance between muscle preservation and facilitating cellular repair. A key point that often eludes people is that slowing down aging is not about perpetually suppressing growth. It's about effectively cycling between periods of growth and repair. This rhythmic interplay of building and then cleaning is what effectively keeps tissues youthful. If this detailed breakdown is proving helpful, please consider subscribing, as evidence-based strategies like these are posted daily to help you live a stronger, longer, and more energetic life. In the upcoming section, we will explore a topic that surprises almost everyone. The foods intrinsically linked to longevity are not exotic superfoods. Instead, they are deeply connected to the health of your blood vessels and your body's ability to control inflammation. Once you grasp this fundamental connection, the entire puzzle of longevity begins to fall into place. To fully comprehend the principles of longevity, let us employ another straightforward analogy. Imagine your body as a thriving city. Your organs can be considered the various neighborhoods, and your cells represent the individual homes within those neighborhoods. However, your blood vessels are the vital arteries and roads that connect everything. If these roads become cracked, clogged, or begin to collapse, it matters little how aesthetically pleasing the neighborhoods are. No part of the city can function optimally for an extended period. Here's a critical insight into what is truly occurring within your body. Most individuals associate the onset of aging with the appearance of wrinkles, the graying of hair, or a decline in muscle strength. However, from a biological perspective, the aging process accelerates significantly when the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, known as the endothelium, ceases to function optimally. This endothelial lining plays a pivotal role in regulating blood flow, facilitating the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to tissues, controlling inflammatory responses, and even orchestrating immune surveillance. The core revelation from decades of dedicated longevity research is profound. You are, in essence, only as young as your blood vessels. Studies consistently reveal that populations who achieve the longest lifespans, including those residing in the famed blue zones, do not merely consume fewer calories. Crucially, they incorporate foods that actively protect and regenerate their endothelial lining. And this is where the element of surprise comes into play. Longevity is not built upon the foundation of protein shakes, generic multivitamins, or obscure supplements. Rather, it is cultivated through the regular consumption of polyphenols, plant-derived compounds that function as essential maintenance crews for your blood vessels. To visualize this, consider a whiteboard illustration. Picture the inner lining of your blood vessels as a non-stick, Teflon-coated surface. When this surface is smooth and intact, blood flows effortlessly, unimpeded. However, when it becomes damaged, inflammation begins to adhere, cholesterol can become oxidized, and the buildup of plaque can commence. Polyphenols actively contribute to restoring this nonstick quality. They enhance the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that improves blood flow, effectively reduce oxidative stress, calm an overactive immune system, and improve insulin sensitivity. The direct impact of these processes on longevity is immense, as compromised blood flow accelerates cognitive decline, increases the risk of heart disease and kidney dysfunction, contributes to erectile dysfunction, and exacerbates fatigue and brain fog. What is particularly fascinating is that some of the most potent polyphenol-rich foods associated with longevity are remarkably simple and readily accessible. Examples include green tea, dark berries, extra virgin olive oil, high flavanol cocoa, distinct from sugary chocolate, cruciferous vegetables, and fermented plant-based foods. These foods do more than just provide antioxidants. They actively activate protective gene pathways that demonstrably slow down biological aging. Research connected to Nobel Prize winning discoveries in cellular signaling indicates that these compounds stimulate stress-resilient systems within the body, the very same systems that are activated by fasting and exercise. This underscores the remarkable principle that your diet can, in effect, mimic and amplify longevity signals. Another often overlooked mechanism at play is the communication pathway between your gut and your blood vessels. Polyphenols serve as nourishment for beneficial gut bacteria, In turn, these bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, that are absorbed into the bloodstream and effectively reduce systemic inflammation. So, when individuals inquire why diet holds such paramount importance for aging, this intricate interplay provides a clear answer. Food is not merely fuel, it is a sophisticated source of biological information. Let's translate this knowledge into a practical framework for eating with longevity in mind. The emphasis should be on addition, not subtraction. Begin by consciously incorporating at least one polyphenol-rich food into each of your daily meals. Utilize high-quality olive oil as your primary cooking and finishing fat. Opt for unsweetened green tea or coffee consumed earlier in the day. Strive for diversity in your plant-based food choices, as different colors and types offer distinct benefits. Notice what is notably absent from this framework: extremes. Diets focused on longevity are not typically rigid or restrictive. They are characterized by consistency. And it is this consistency that is key to maintaining flexible, responsive, and youthful blood vessels. One final, crucial point to consider: many individuals meticulously consume healthy foods, but undermine their benefits by pairing them with constant sugar spikes, late-night eating habits, and chronic stress. These detrimental factors can effectively negate the positive effects of even the healthiest dietary choices. Longevity-promoting foods achieve their greatest impact when synergistically combined with stable blood sugar levels, adequate sleep, and regular physical activity, a holistic approach rather than a reliance on isolated hacks. In the subsequent section, we will address a concept that surprises nearly everyone: why eating less often, not just eating better, might be one of the most powerful longevity tools ever discovered. Once you truly understand this fundamental rhythm, your perspective on aging will shift dramatically. Let us explore this next crucial concept using a simple analogy that most people have likely never considered. Imagine your body is akin to a bustling factory that operates continuously without ever shutting down. The machinery runs 24 hours a day, products are manufactured non-stop, and there is virtually no allocated time for essential maintenance. Initially, everything may appear to function adequately, but over time, components will wear out at an accelerated rate, errors will accumulate, and inevitable breakdowns will occur. This is precisely the impact of constant eating on your body. Here's a deeper look at what is transpiring within your cells. Every time you consume food, your insulin levels rise. It is important to understand that insulin is not inherently detrimental. It is an essential hormone. However, it functions as a potent growth signal. These growth signals instruct cells to build, divide, and store energy. While this process is highly beneficial during youth, chronically elevated growth signals unequivocally accelerate the aging process. Longevity science presents us with a counterintuitive yet critical finding. Aging is slowed when growth signals are periodically deactivated. This is where Nobel Prize recognized research into cellular recycling, specifically autophagy, has revolutionized our understanding of lifespan. Autophagy is your body's sophisticated internal cleanup system. It is the mechanism by which cells eliminate damaged proteins, recycle dysfunctional mitochondria, clear inflammatory debris, and ultimately improve cellular efficiency. Think of it as essential cellular housekeeping. However, there is a fundamental prerequisite for this process. Autophagy cannot be fully activated when insulin levels are chronically elevated. In other words, if you are consuming food from morning until night, even if those foods are perfectly healthy, your cells are never afforded the opportunity to perform this vital house cleaning. Scientific research consistently demonstrates that periods of fasting, even those of relatively short duration, lead to measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity, metabolic flexibility, and key longevity markers. It is imperative to clarify that this does not equate to starvation. Longevity-focused fasting is fundamentally about strategic timing, not deprivation. A simple overnight fast of 12 to 14 hours is sufficient to trigger significant improvements in insulin sensitivity and mitochondrial function. Extending this fasting window to 16 hours further enhances autophagy, particularly within the liver and the vascular system. The significance of this is profound because the liver plays a central role in regulating blood sugar, detoxifying hormones and toxins, and influencing inflammation and fat metabolism. If the liver is never given a period of rest, the aging process is inevitably accelerated. Here is a practical and realistic protocol that aligns perfectly with longevity research. Ensure you finish your final meal at least 3 hours before you go to bed. During your fasting window, consume water, herbal teas, or black coffee. When you break your fast, prioritize a meal rich in protein, fiber, and healthy fats, rather than one high in sugar. Actively avoid late-night snacking, even if the calorie count seems low. This single dietary adjustment alone can significantly improve sleep quality, enhance morning energy levels, and optimize overall metabolic health. Now, let us explore how this practice becomes even more powerful. Fasting and the consumption of polyphenol-rich foods activate many of the same longevity pathways. Both interventions stimulate AMPK and the sirtuin enzymes, which are intrinsically linked to DNA repair and cellular stress resistance. Therefore, when you strategically combine a daily fasting window with a diet rich in polyphenols and maintain stable blood sugar levels, you are effectively stacking multiple powerful longevity signals without the need for medications. If you find this comprehensive explanation helpful, please consider subscribing, as content designed to elucidate how your body truly functions is shared daily.